So I wanted to find something to love about the beasts from Generation 2 Bionicle, because I do think the term beast is kind of misused. They are definitely amalgamous creations, but we have these built out of a system called the Creature and Character Building System, yet we didn't actually see a whole lot of creatures built. So I wanted to go ahead and make a mock, which this video is going to focus on, specifically relating to the beasts from Generation 2, from 2016 Bionicle. And so I give you the Jungle Beast. Note that some of this is going to be some recolor stuff because obviously parts don't exist. But this is what I've come up with, and I'm really happy with where it is at so far. As you can see, it takes some inspiration from like some kind of jungle cat, a jaguar, or whatever. And I figure if this was to get a mask, it would probably be dark green rather than the bright green that's featured more prominently on the character, with a trans neon green or a trans bright green. And I could definitely see the use of both. I'm really happy with the design of the build overall, and it's actually a pretty straightforward build using a mechanism that's kind of similar, at least inspired by the Akita build, the underwater creature, if you will. So the actual function, as mentioning, is essentially connected to the tail here, and all you need to do is either push forward on it or pull back on it. It is on a ball joint, so there's a bit of friction. I need to break that piece in a bit more. But suffice to say, let me go ahead and do that real quick. It raises and lowers the arms in sort of like a mauling fashion. Right now I have some Borak eyes on the inside that act as stoppers, but I may take them out if I want to get a little bit more movement. I'll definitely test that and see if I end up liking it. As it stands though, I'm pretty happy with where things are at. It utilizes the crystal swords, of course, from the Uniter sets earlier in the year. The beasts sometimes use them with the silver, sometimes use them with black, and I would love to see black here, or even potentially dark green would be really cool too, but, you know, ignoring that for a moment, the other aspects of the figure that I really like are this sort of like thorny aesthetic. Obviously, it has the crystalline structure as seen before with these pieces here. If this was a set, LEGO would probably recolor those in bright green, trans bright green, or even potentially just use them in trans neon green to give it more of that corrupted color. And I think both would work just fine. Alongside that, as you can see, it has his little ears up here to, of course, reflect the fact that it is a jungle cat. And it actually lifts the bottom jaw up a little bit, about a half a module. And that's because the connection is on one of these types of connectors. I don't know what they're called, like a lever axle piece. Suffice to say, the body is pretty simple, just using a standard-sized Hero Factory torso, and in fact does not use the top ball pieces at all, with just a rib cage and a print. This print is from Hero Factory, but I actually really like it here because of that sort of jungle-esque striped aesthetic, and the colors too, with this sort of green over orange. It's a really nice piece, and it's definitely one that I would suggest getting if you are into parts with colors like that. I use that one quite a lot. It's a really, really good one in general. On top of that, the leg build is fairly simple, just using the trans bright green number 4 shell here with this spike piece, and then one of these shell pieces, I'm not specifically sure. I think it's called like a type C shell or something along those lines, but don't quote me, with the spikes facing the opposite direction. It gives you this sort of like thorny knee build that can go backwards, but allows for it to bend quite far and keep that spiky aesthetic and, of course, the black sort of undertone. You can see that the paws have black as well, but again, if LEGO was going to recolor this mask in dark green, I could definitely see the claws being made in that color as well, just to give us a little more of something extra. Of course, I think the black actually looks really good here, so it's not saying that it has to be recolored, and of course it has the shadow traps, one on each side, to sort of highlight those higher shoulder blades in general. So if this is something that you guys feel interested in building, then I will go ahead and post a studio file on Discord. This is fully buildable as it is, as you see it here, but just note that if you wanted to make this with like trans bright green or whatever, those pieces don't exist. So you could use trans neon green here for sure. And then the mask would just have to be whatever you stand in, whatever you want to add to it. Of course, the earpieces could be trans neon green, trans bright green, but I really like the black to go with that mask here as well. It's a really straightforward build that ends up actually looking quite nice and quite menacing at the same time, while sort of blending in and leaning into that sort of bestial tone. And of course, it even has this little hinged blade back here to fill in the gaps between those two swords and just give you more of that crystalline structure that we were so used to from these creatures. I think overall it's a really solid build. It's fairly simple. The function is straightforward, albeit a bit hard to access just because of that ball joint piece. Maybe I'll come up with something else that I like there instead of the ball joint, but for now, I'm pretty happy with the function as it stands. And yeah, that's really just about it. So if this is something that you guys want to build, just make sure to check out the Discord, which will be linked in the description. And of course, as always, you can join in the conversation in the comments over on Discord, Instagram, or if you want to support the channel and get some perks, Patreon as well. And make sure you are subscribed because it really does help out the channel. And it makes sure that you see more content just like this. So until next time, take care.